Hugh Hefner has passed away. He died on Wednesday at his home in the Playboy Mansion in the Holmby Hills area of Los Angeles. He was 91. Here's a little bit about him. Hefner, the man and Playboy, the brand, were inseparable. Both advertised themselves as emblems of the sexual revolution, an escape from American priggishness and wider social intolerance. Both were derided over the years as vulgar, as adolescent, as exploitative, and finally as anachronistic. But Hefner was a stunning success from the moment he emerged in the early 1950s. He will be buried in Westwood Memorial Park in Los Angeles in a mausoleum drawer he had bought next to Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe really launched the publication of Playboy. He had purchased a nude photo of Marilyn Monroe and he bought it for $500, and it is now an infamous photo known across the world. So what was your reaction to hearing about the passing of Hugh Hefner?
We talked about this on Pop Trigger, and you were absolutely right when you said it's like the end of an era. It's just like, he was. And he would always show up in stuff. He was the cameo king. Everything from episodes of Entourage to like Beverly Hills Cop. It was someone who did so many crazy things. There's one quote that I was like, in 1953, this is from the USA Today obituary. In 1953, a time when states could legally ban contraceptives, when the word pregnant was not allowed on I Love Lucy, Hefner published the first issue of Playboy featuring naked issues of Marilyn Monroe.
By the way, you mentioning I Love Lucy made me realize, they wouldn't even show Lucy and Desi like in the same bed together. They were sleeping in separate beds. Like that's how prudish the country was at that time. And so for someone like Hugh Hefner to come along and do what he did with Playboy, it was risky, I want to say ballsy, but I don't know if that's the right context. It was just risky, and for me the most memorable thing was when he talked about having sex with a man to experiment. He said that in an interview, and I thought that was so courageous,
right?
Because he doesn't identify as gay, but when it comes to sexual experimentation, when it comes to women experimenting with same-sex relations, it's sexy and it's accepted. Men don't get that same type of social support, and for him to come out and say that he experimented and it wasn't really his thing, I thought it was pretty brave. And
Amir brought up a short story that they ran where they switched the prevalence of like homosexuality and heterosexuality, and it was the homosexuals that were stigmatizing the heterosexuals, and that gave people a perspective to see what if the shoe was on the other foot. And for all the talk about the idea that Hugh Hefner led to the objectification of women in culture, which is a good conversation to have. The fact that we have conversations like that is thanks to Playboy, who in a time when you couldn't say pregnant on TV, made it so that we were faced with these kinds of things.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of what we talked about on Pop Trigger as well, where he had such an amazing life. He did so much. It doesn't mean that all of it was good, but when someone passes, I think it's okay to celebrate their achievements and then also have conversations about things that maybe we are critical of or that we do disagree with, because no one is here saying that Hugh Hefner was a perfect person, but I would hope. I would hope that when someone passes, you give them that dignity of just celebrating the good achievements that they had in their life.
Well, there are some that don't get that privilege.
And that's a discussion for another day.
That is a discussion for another day.
If you like this video, you probably like independent media. The best way to support independent media, become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.